Welcome to the Leaders in Payments podcast, where we talk to C-level leaders from across the payments landscape. We'll be discussing the products and services that impact the payment space today, as well as trends and predictions for the future of payments. We will also hear stories from our guests about their journeys to the top.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Leaders in Payments podcast. I'm your host, Greg Myers, and today's special guest is Garima Shah, the co-founder and president of Biller Genie. So, Garima, thank you so much for being here, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Greg. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Well, it's been a while, so I went back and researched. You were on the show, believe it or not, in February of 2020. Which was,
before the world closed.
Right. That was episode 6, by the way. And then you were on again as part of our diversity and inclusion series back in April of 2021. So again, 5 or 6 years ago, that was episode 78. We're now on episode 478.
Wow, that's amazing growth, Greg. I love that.
Yeah. So we've grown. I know Biller Genie has grown. So I'm looking forward to the conversation.
You as well.
Before we dive into your career in the company, can you give us a quick snapshot of your personal background, maybe where you grew up, where you call home today, a few things like that?
Yeah, so I grew up kind of a little bit everywhere. I was born in England, but I've lived in Central Florida most of my life, went to school up in Boston, and have been living in Orlando now for a pretty long time, probably 25, 26 years. That makes me feel way old. But yes, I've lived here for a long time, and we just opened our headquarters here in Orlando in 2023. So it's really cool. For the first time in my career, I am living and working in the same city, which has just never happened.
That's awesome. Well, can you walk us through your professional journey and maybe how you even got to Biller Genie?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you know how all of us went to school looking to get into merchant services, right? That was our entire goal.
Absolutely.
Right. Now, I went to school for advertising and graphic design. I actually wanted to make a Super Bowl commercial. I graduated when I was 19 from Boston University, and I thought it was so cool. I thought it was the best thing ever, and I thought I was going to make the best Super Bowl commercial ever. I interviewed at some ad agencies down in Miami, and they were like, "Oh, sweetheart, that's not going to happen anytime soon." I was not pleased by that response, so I ended up taking a job in outside door-to-door sales and in telecommunications. I did really well at that, and I ended up opening my first company when I was 20, and it was a sales and marketing firm. Our first client was First Horizon Merchant Services. For all of those of us who've been in the industry for a long time, we remember First Horizon. Back then, it was actually it was First Horizon, and first I sold that company, and I ended up starting to work for EDR. Again, all of our payment natives out there, you guys will know who EDR is, then became Payment Alliance. And so I was at Payment Alliance for a while and ran their internal sales team. And then had moved into various positions in the payments industry, from running all of external sales for companies like Century Payments and virtual processing services. And then I did a lot of M&A work for Direct Connect. And I was really in the M&A side, and that's how I met my partner, Tom, today. In 2012, I actually purchased a large portion of his portfolio as part of M&A work that I was doing for Direct Connect. We met doing opposite sides of the same transactions in a boardroom back in 2012. So it's been a long time. We had a long-term investment in his ISO. Him and I got to know each other very well. When we sold again to Priority, Tom and I got a lot closer, and I was figuring out my next steps. He was starting to think of tinkering with Biller Genie, and we partnered in 2020 to open the SaaS platform. And it's been great.
Great. Well, let's dive into talk about the company. So tell our audience what Biller Genie does.
It's accounts receivable automation, which is absolutely not sexy or fun. I understand. But accounts receivable automation is actually really sexy because it's how people get paid. And at the end of the day, when we think about that, especially as payments people, we look at payments as someone runs a card, someone runs an ACH, and you get paid. But there's this whole ecosystem within a company or within an organization that ensures that money even gets to the right hands and is billed for the right amount. And we really work on that workflow to ensure that happens. So to make it really simple, if you think about a landscaper, today in the United States, it takes an average of 47 days to get paid on a bill. So they come out and mow your lawn. It takes them almost 2 months for you to pay them for mowing their lawn, because there's 3 things that they don't do very well. And you guys will all know that you feel this. You got to send out a bill. Most people don't. You think about your landscaper. I know mine still ties a rubber band with a little sheet of paper on the door, right? So you got to send out a bill in a timely fashion. You got to ensure that there's data integrity. So I can't bill Greg for something that Josh bought. I've got to bill you for the right amount with the right sales tax, the right inventory, all of that. But most importantly, you need an Amazon-like experience. You have to make it easy for customers to pay you. When you tie a little rubber band around my door and I get the sheet of paper, how do I pay you? Am I supposed to write you a check? Do I even have checks? Am I supposed to find a check stamp? So you got to make it easy for people to pay. So you got to be able to click a button and make it easy to pay. So Biller Genie does all of those things. If that's all people remember, we do all of those things. We send out invoices on time, we ensure data integrity, make it really easy for customers to pay. And because of that, our average customer, average merchant gets paid in 8 days instead of 47. So instead of trying to sell them on, hey, let me save you 5 basis points, it's, hey, let me get you paid 30, 40, 50, 60 days faster and remove all of this headache of accounts receivable completely.
Okay. And what size merchants do you typically work with?
Yeah, we're SMB, so I'd say like $500,000 to $20 million in annualized revenue. So, and when I say revenue, I'm not just talking about what they do in credit card processing, because maybe they take check or cash or something else, but it's a good size business. They're doing at least $40,000, $50,000 a month in revenue, and they have invoices that they need to get automated. So they're going to be a card not present business. Industry types are great: construction, B2B, freight forwarding, membership services, SaaS companies, field services. Those are great verticals for us where we see the most growth.
Okay. Is most of your sales direct, or do you go through partner channels, or both?
We almost do nothing direct. Direct is someone randomly finds us online and happens to give us a call, but we do not do any marketing around direct because we have built this. We are payments people who built the solution for payments people. We have over 1,100 partners, and they're all the payments companies that you can think of. So literally the top banks, the top processors, they all work with us. We have about 30 different gateway integrations. And so we do not compete with our partners.
Okay. And is it mostly US based or also international?
US and Canada. But we also have an office in Belfast, but that's for our development team, but we don't actually board merchants over there.
Okay. And what would you say is the biggest challenge that your company is solving for your customers?
I mean, I think it's really just getting them paid faster, right? I mean, for a small business owner, we have people call us all the time. Like, we had a plumber recently who called us because we're saving them 10 to 15 hours a week of busy work where they're trying to chase this invoice, send it out, get it paid, reconcile it, making sure that's accurate. And he's like, man, I was able to go to my son's baseball game again because I have the time. Like, he gave me the time back. And so we're really solving that pain point of getting them paid faster and removing all of the friction, all of the timing in that.
Okay. And what would you say differentiates Biller Genie from your competitors?
So, not to be naive, but we don't really have competitors in our space who are fully agnostic. So we are fully agnostic, like I said, for payments people, by payments people. We do not compete with our partners. And we are able to work with just about any payment processor out there, any gateway out there. And we have a full bi-directional sync with all versions of QuickBooks, all versions of Xero, and we're adding more accounting software every single day.
Okay. Maybe talk a little bit about how does that relationship work with your partners?
Absolutely. So think that you go to your bank, because we have a lot of bank partners. You go to your bank and you're a landscaper and you're going to open a new commercial bank account. And they say, hey, do you use QuickBooks? Great. In order to connect your merchant services account to QuickBooks, you need to work with Biller Genie. And we become that conduit in between. And we are handling everything. So we pull out the invoice from QuickBooks, we send it out on their behalf. We handle all of the pre-work around that. And then when the customer pays, so when the customer pays the landscaper and hits that button, pay with credit card, pay with ACH, or pay with however, once they hit that button, that's running on our partners' rails. So whatever gateway they have, whatever MID it is, it's running on their rails. We're seeing that transaction settle, and then we're doing all the gap compliant reconciliation on the back end.
Okay. Well, what happens when someone doesn't pay? Do you get involved in that?
We absolutely do. We have a lot of different features around that as well, whether that is how we handle reminders or how we handle reporting, but we really make it easy for the customer or the merchant themselves to be very hands-off, and we'll handle all of it.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the future a little bit. Where do you see the biggest growth opportunity for your segment of payments?
Absolutely. I mean, growth is huge. Everything that's coming around with AI and making it so much faster to build. We are adding gateways. We are adding payment platforms. We are adding accounting software across the board. I mean, in the past year, we have grown from 45 employees to over 90 employees. We have an entire operational center in Belfast that does all of our dev and product work. We opened our headquarters. I would love to have you come, Greg. You should come visit.
Yeah,
we have a big office here in Orlando. Would love to have you out here. That's become our global headquarters. And, we raised a $22 million Series B of funding as well. So we're going to be using all of that for some huge growth and scale, mostly around the way more connections. Because if you think of Biller Genie as the wheel and you see all these spokes, whether it's a payment company, whether it's the way that the customer wants to pay. So how are they paying? Are they paying with check, ACH, buy now, pay later, pays? How are they paying? So we need all the connections of the way the customer wants to pay. So we make it easy for the customer. What are all of the accounting software that the merchants are using? Is that Sage? Is it NetSuite? So let's have all the integrations there. And let's assume that for all the accountants and bookkeepers, everything we do is fully GAAP compliant and reconcilable. So it's really building in all four of those different places.
Okay. And what about support? Do they go to the processor for support or do they come to you?
We have white glove support on every single one of our customers. So if it's a payments related issue, we won't be able to answer, but we will get our partners involved. But other than that, everything in our software we will handle. Our team is very well versed in accounting and bookkeeping and how QuickBooks works and what someone should be doing to have a great AR process.
Okay. Well, what does success look like for Biller Genie over, say, the next 3 to 5 years?
We're going to be the next unicorn that disrupts AR. I mean, like we're growing by 2-3 times every single year. We're going to continue that, and we're looking to be the unicorn. We're looking for that $1 billion.
Okay. Well, let's zoom out a little bit. What are some of the biggest trends that you think are reshaping the payments industry right now?
AI. I mean, look, I think that is reshaping not just the payments industry, but technology as a whole. The access to data, the access to analyze that data in a meaningful way in real time, I think is changing how we understand consumer trends, how we understand merchant trends, how we can predict things like attrition, how we are able to get involved in conversations sooner and really provide a merchant with a frictionless experience that takes them from start to finish. And I think that I think payments has become frictionless over time anyway, but I think that the speed to making that even more hands-off, and if you think about agentic commerce and what that's going to do to the payments industry, I think we're just going to see more of a hands-off approach where payments is just something that's run in the background for a business because everything is so seamless for them across the board.
Okay, so what about stablecoins? Do you foresee that becoming something that you would ever offer?
Look, we've had this conversation a lot with a lot of different people. Adding stablecoins is actually very easy, but who is paying right now with stablecoins, right? Like I always say that, like it's like when someone said, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago, oh my gosh, you guys should accept crypto. Cool, but who's paying their landscaper with crypto? Who's paying their pool guy with stablecoins? I think that there's an absolute world, and it's a very easy integration path to be able to handle that acceptance. But until the payment processors and the merchants are ready to be able to enable that, I don't see us, because that's who our customers are. I don't see us necessarily trying to get everywhere there. But it will be interesting to see what the adoption rates are on things like stablecoin.
Okay, so I haven't been talking about this a whole lot, but I think it's starting to begin some conversations around sort of consolidation in the industry, right? You've had the movements you all and everyone knows about. What are your thoughts? Do you think that's going to continue? Does that really matter to your business, or it's just instead of 2 partners, now it's 1? Maybe talk about that a little bit.
We've definitely had that happen multiple times where we had 2 partners and all of a sudden it's 1, which has a whole bunch of challenges on its own because even though they're one company, there's still multiple platforms and everything else. We all remember back to the first data days with the 15 different platforms and try to make sure that all of those are integrated, even though they're all called first data. I think that our industry looks very similar to telecommunications, and I think that if you think about that parabola of there were hundreds and hundreds, there was one company, Ma Bell, then it broke out into all of the various telecommunication companies from Bell South to da-da-da-da-da, and then you saw all of the consolidation, people buying other things like AT&T, and then you kind of saw it stabilize. I think we're going to see that. I think it's like telecommunications is about 15 years further than payments is, but I think it's the exact same parabolic. There was one company, 2 or 3 companies. Oh my gosh, there's a million companies. Now we see consolidation, and at some point it will stabilize. I think we're a little ways away from it, but I do think that we're going to see some stabilization around who the winners are and how the industry works.
Okay. Well, a couple of final questions, and this one's a little more around advice. So if you could go back and give yourself advice at the start of your career, what would that be?
That your career will absolutely not be linear. I think we're trained to believe that, you think about a baby, right? A baby wakes up and first learns how to crawl, crawl, then walk, then run and talk. And your whole life is linear. You go to school, you go to middle school, you go to high school, you go to college, and then all of a sudden you get a job and you get punched in the face because it's not linear anymore. Especially like unless you're a physician or an engineer or a lawyer, it's truly not linear. You have to think about what it is that you want and how you want that, and you're going to have these ups and downs. So I think that that's really scary when you first start out. So I think that telling myself that earlier would have been great.
Yeah. I mean, and personally, like, who thought I would become a podcaster? I never thought, right? I mean, I didn't go to school for it because it probably didn't exist back then. So, I mean, you're right, 100%. So when you think about payments and the people listening to the show, what do you think is like the most important thing they should be thinking about right now?
I think that payments in general should be thinking about what is the value that you're providing for your customers and for your merchants. I think the days of selling, I think we've been talking about this for a while, but like selling on price, it's just so gone. And there's got to be integration. There has to be true value. You have to be somewhere in that merchant's ecosystem and helping them with a real business problem, because just selling merchant services, just selling payments is commoditized. And so understanding the real pain points of that business and being able to partner with companies that are able to solve those pain points is who's going to win.
Do you think there's any validation to the phrase death of the ISO, or do you think that's never going to happen?
I don't know about never going to happen. I think it will take time before it happens, but I also think that ISOs are smart, and I think they're hopefully are going to evolve as well. And I think some of them have, and some of them have started selling and becoming the ISO for the ISV and have been payback as a service. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that, where the ISOs that win are truly software companies and not the other way around. It used to be software companies becoming payments companies. I think we're going to see more and more payments companies becoming software companies.
Okay, so one final question. If you wanted to leave the audience with just one takeaway, maybe it's about the value that Biller Genie, or you choose what the takeaway is, but what would be the one takeaway you would want the audience to take away from this episode?
I mean, look, I hope that we can speak to all of you. I think you guys have such a great audience, Greg, and we love Everyday in Payments. Like, it is our customers. But, understanding what we do and the value that we provide for our customers, at the end of the day, we know how hard all of you work to get your merchants. And when someone works with Biller Genie, we drop your attrition rate by a lot. So we're sub 4% on some of our plans, and we know that that's important to you. So let us help you sign more merchants and keep them for longer. Like, that's what we do. That's what our goal is. We have a hashtag on our wall that says #BeYourBestPartner. That is our goal every single day, is to be your best partner. So give us a try, give us a shout.
Okay. Well, what would be the best way to get in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can always find us on billergenie.com. You can email us anytime at partners@billergenie.com, and we'd love to speak to you.
Okay. Well, Garima, it's been great to catch up. I love what you guys are doing, and the growth has been incredible. So thank you so much for being on the show. I know your time is very valuable, so I appreciate you being here today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Greg. I appreciate it. And congrats on all the success.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And to all your listeners out there, I thank you for your time as well. And until the next story.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Leaders in Payments podcast. Make sure you visit our website at leadersinpayments.com, where you can subscribe to the show and where you'll find our show notes. If you enjoyed listening, please share on your social channels as well.